We have touched.
I can get a piece of paper from this place like that.
Yeah, you can get some for today.
Okay.
We have touched on.
Folio.
We have touched on so many important.
Let me check inside the file.
We have touched on so many important techniques in quantitative statistics. We are done with correlation, partial correlation, regression, that's multiple regression, hierarchical multiple regression, and then logistics for regression. We have also done factor analysis to check for validity, and we have also done reliability tests. We have also seen how we can use the SPSS to do some descriptive statistics if the objective is set at the state of affairs level. Now we are going to do what we call test of difference. Test of difference. We have skipped the moderation and mediation because we have to install the SPSS process model on the SPSS before we can use it to do analysis. Okay, but we also have a separate lessons for it as well. So today, let's look at some few of the test of differences. Okay, the term that they use to, or the term they use for the techniques for checking test of difference is what we call t-test. Have you heard of it before? T-tests. We have a number of them, and they are all applicable based on what you really want to achieve. Okay, they are applicable based on what you want to achieve, and also the nature of measurement of the grouping variables as well as the dependent variables. Okay. So if you set out a study to compare differences, maybe between male and female students who are doing well in terms of their CGPA, for instance, you're going to compare them, is that not it? Maybe various religious institutions that we have in Ghana, we want to know how their living standard. You want to compare against Christians, Muslims, and traditionalists. Is that not it? You want to compare them to check which of them is having higher living standard or not. Then you are likely to use t-test. We have a host of them, which I think as we go on, we get to know them. So the first one that we are going to experiment or try on is what we call independent sample t-test. Independent samples t-tests. So independent sample t-tests. Let's look at what it really contains. When you want to conduct independent sample t-tests, it is parametric. So there are some assumptions that we expect that we will meet them before we perform the independent sample t-test. Like the correlation and the regression, multiple regression, some of the assumptions are also applicable. The samples should be randomly selected. The sample size should be adequate. The number of cases in each group, we are going to compare groups, okay? The number of cases in each group should be at least 30. For instance, you want to compare male and female on their living standard. They say that the number of males that you pick should be at least what? 30. And the number of females that you pick should be at least 30. So, minimum 50 people, 60 before you can compare their views. You understand? So the minimum sample size should be at least 60. That is where we have equal number of 30 in each group. Okay. Apart from meeting that one, the dependent variable that you are comparing them on, okay, should be continuously measured. The dependent variable should be what? Continuously measured. Very, very important. The dependent variable should be continuously measured. Apart from that, the grouping variable should have only two groups. Okay. If the grouping variables have more than two groups, you don't use independent sample t-tests. You understand? I said the grouping variable should have only two groups. Maybe gender. Gender. In the case of Ghana, we have male and what? Female. Or maybe status of drink of alcohol. Non-alcoholic drinker. Is that not it? Alcoholic what? Drinker. 2. So the grouping variable should have at least, should have what? 2 groups. And if you go into each group, you should have at least 30 cases. That is what I meant by that. Cases. And as I said, the dependent variable should be continuously measured. If it is continuously measured, it means that we are measuring it either at the interval or what? Ratio or what? Scale. You understand? Which in the case of SPSS, they call them what? Metric data. But in the case, that is in the case of PLS, sorry. But in the case of SPSS, we call them what? They provide what we call continuous data. They provide continuous what? Data. So these are some of the assumptions that we have to look at when we want to use independence of. But the key feature is that it should be continuous. The dependent variable should be continuously what? Measured, and then the grouping variable should have 2 categories. Should have 2 categories. If it meets that one, then you can use the independent sample test. I want to open the SPSS book so that we look at. So this one here, this is how we learn it. You do the parametric, and then you also do the non-parametric for you to see it concurrently. You get it? You do the parametric and also the non-parametric. Have you opened your SPSS book?
Yeah. Go down.
Yes, after factor analysis.
Go up.
You have to go down. Central tendency. You understand? The continuous, the measure of central tendency is mean, and then the dispersion is what? The standard deviation. So you just compare the means of the 2 groups and see the one that is doing well. Then you come and check whether it is significant or not what? Significant. In other words, whether we got the results by chance or not by what? Chance. That's all. Okay, so let's quickly read through the procedure and then illustrate it on the board. Okay? Are you okay? Now, I wanted us to look at the non-parametric alternative. So, what is the non-parametric alternative for independent sample t-test? Look at page 207.
07.
Yeah. So, what we are going to do is that we will do the parametric first, then go and also do the non-parametric. 207, before the procedure. Look at the last sentence there. Non-parametric alternative. Man witness test, right? So today we are doing independent sample t-test. After that, we go and do what? Man written what? Test. Then we take the next one. And we also do the alternative. That is how we are going to do them. Okay? So before we are done with this one, we have killed both the parametric and the non-parametric. Okay. So let's look at the procedure, go to the board and then calculate and do the interpretation.